Did I not say 2025 would astrologically be known as the year of the great humiliation? And I'm not being funny, hibiscuses. When you reflect on that blue cheese funky ass year, did it not feel like it was personally written to be a Def Jam comedy set? Oh my God, I was thinking about, I have never seen so many bitches heckled, humiliated, tomato on their face, fully just like obliterated. And you can see that in so many different facets of life when you think about 2025, whether it's personal, professional, or public. I think about Usha Vance, who married that couch fucking man and is surprised he would lead to her public downfall. But that's what you get, right? Associated to that, I think about all these weird public figures who across the globe were trying to normalize and support fascism, and then surprise, surprise, are horrified about what unfolds afterwards and what it reveals about them. Fuck it, go a layer deeper. I thought it was hilarious when people who voted for fascism were surprised their asses are the one in cages. It's almost like the hate you wished upon everybody else. Who did it impact, right? But like I always say, astrologically, we are in the collapsing of colonialism and everything is interconnected, right? Look at it like this. The humiliation was not equal, and thank God for different types of karmas, right? Because why should we be held accountable the same way these self-destructive weirdos are, right? Humiliation is also illumination. Think about how many different people were validated, were finally being recognized and listened to, because all of these pompous, arrogant, self-righteous, deeply discriminative individuals who love to prance around like they're not threatening, all of a sudden, all the shit they've been spewing, all the shit they've been scheming on, it was all blowing up in their faces. And all of a sudden, the people who've been raising alarm bells, right? The people who've been saying this is not the most effective way to govern, to build A, B, and C, yeah? Oh, now you like to listen, right? And also, I like to speak it over you. How beautiful that in 2025, you got to bear witness your enemies being humiliated, right? But the story doesn't end there. 2026 is astrologically the year of success and stupidity, right? And if you've been following me for a long time, you know, for many years over TikTok, I said, look, 2020 to around like 2025, late 2024 is what I would label the cycle of death and rebirth. And when we touch down into 2025, everyone will be put on the path of whatever they were meant to be in this new cycle. And as we go through, like, I think 2025 to about 2035, so many people's paths would not only be revealed to them, but over time, and I don't know if they'd be really conscious of it, but whatever they're doing, I think it would become very clear. These are the players, these are the game changers, these are your educators, your artists, all of that, right? These are your community members who basically trigger the collapsing of colonialism and the rebuilding of something else. So again, when I say stuff like, oh, this year's known as that, and you might be like, oh, fuck, that sounds awful. You have nothing to worry about unless you're a dickhead. If you're a dickhead, I would honestly label, and it's something I've been toying on with Patreon, I can't tell if it's from 2026 or 2027, but between these dates, all the way until I would say the late 2000s and 30s, I label that era as long in the making. The consequences that you felt were avoidable, the accountability you thought you would never be, you know, you would never have to be held. My guy, it's over. But that's a beautiful thing. What do I always say? Destruction is creation, right? They are one of the same thing. So when you see your enemies, you see people who have made insane wealth, they have made notoriety, they have received recognition through the things that taunt you, oppress you, impoverish you, manufacture you into illness, essentially deplete your fucking soul and your worth and value. Do not shed a tear. There's a reason I'm giving ceremonies over on TikTok about be the villain. This is the era, be the villain. Because they did not care about your They didn't care about your well-being. They didn't care about your safety. They did not care about your life and your rights as they were depleting and exploiting you. And now, FYI, they're finding out why that was never going to run. But also, thank God, I truly believe when things get so bad, so cringe, so awful, it's the perfect thing to trigger stuff in people. So they go and build, they now do the opposition. Because the truth is, right, no one would learn if the consequences were not severe. You've been told for decades, like, there is a climate crisis. You have been told for many, many years, public health is deeply inadequate, it's ableist, it's going to kill off loads of people, right? They have been told for decades, if not centuries, one could argue, that the economics of oppression are designed to just basically be destroyed and create destruction, right? But for some reason, because there's this long history of absconding from justice, always being able to pump wealth, unfortunately, for some reason, people being complacent or kind of slowly caving in or just losing the will to fight back, it writes itself. It's a predestined divine tragedy, which I live for. I lick my lips at, because it's only through this we will have good, we will have prosperity, we will have justice, we will have everything we need, right? So, you know the routine. Go and grab a cup of cha, get comfortable. Let's have a candid cosmic chit chat why 2026 is the year of success and stupidity, hibiscuses.
The damage is done, baby.
As always, let's begin by analyzing the astrology behind 2026 so you can better understand why I label it the year of success and stupidity. So, according to Vedic numerology, 2026 is a sun-ruled year, right? And there are a few themes of the sun that I think you are going to see so prominent throughout this year. Now, let's begin with the theme of illumination, right? Now, this will both be an ass-kicking and a blessing depending on what you've been up to, right? As always, Vedic astrology, or as I coin it, colonizer-free astrology, because best believe there's a lot of shit that needs detoxifying out of it so you don't get trapped into fascism and, perpetuating evil in the world. It's a religious practice, right? So the way that we understand God, the purpose of reincarnation, different types of karmas, most importantly, free will and the soul, it all contributes to what plays out in someone's life and why they go through the experiences that they do. And likewise, they will always have the option to do better, to do differently. All it's about is cultivating a sense of self-awareness, accountability, and consciousness. So as you navigate life, hibiscuses, you are learning to pick choices that will age well for you instead of, trap you in something that I labeled the karmic prison, which is really active between 2025 and 2028. But let's get back to it. So when we think about illumination, right? Look at it like this. We exist in a time, whether you are looking at industries, whether you're looking at politics, perhaps you are looking at the people around in your personal lives and their beliefs and ideologies and kind of behavioral patterns and actions, right? There is this very strong energy of willful ignorance, right? Denial is a river in Egypt that these bitches act like was never around, right? What happens in 2026 is various results of ignoring the truth, right? Various results of lies, various results of intentionally spreading misinformation, various results around fraud, deceit. Do you get the picture, hibiscuses? In 2026, all that is illuminated. So say, for instance, right, someone goes on with this kind of belief of the most disgusting fascist kind, right? And they're in their head that this is the way to glory. This is the way to wealth. This is the way to essentially a better quality of life, right? Evidently, we all know It does not work like that. You cannot become isolationist. You cannot become discriminating against other people. You cannot do that shit and have a prosperous economy. Fascism is the economics of poverty. It always has been, it always will be, right? In 2026, all those kind of misguided beliefs, they start bearing their fruits. All of a sudden, it's illuminated why something was not a good idea. And likewise, right, I would also add any lies, any like self-fed narrative to make people feel comfortable with clearly wayward ideologies and terrible actions. All of that is removed. If everything is illuminated, right, every excuse, every excuse, every denial, every nasty ass thing that you use to avoid consequences, to avoid reality, and I think also to avoid yourself and the true nature of who you are, is obliterated. Why do you think the year of the Great Humiliation came first? That was a warning, right? What you are pursuing is not right. It will lead to you having mud on your face. Did they listen? No. Did I expect them to? Absolutely not. There's a reason I talk really explicitly about the astrological transit known as a karmic prison. Group one are who? It is a group of people who are willfully ignorant, right? They love being in denial, right? All that bullshit. And between 2025 to 2028, they make various movements that lead to them quite symbolically and literally being in prison. And not only do they fuck up their own lives, they are the reason why 7 generations ahead are condemned to a living hellscape that I would never wish on my worst enemy, right? But that's the thing. Energy can never be destroyed. It can only be transformed, right? And when you talk about a negative projection in someone's life, right? Imagine you don't take caution to the little signs that God sends you, right? You keep going. So imagine, right? You have a bit of a faulty bike and then, you start falling off, you get little bumps and scrapes, right? But for some reason, you refuse to fix the bike or you're doing very superficial work to the bike, right? And, even maybe neighbors or someone who like fixes vehicles tells you, oh, maybe spend a little money and get that fixed. Or you should probably stop riding on that bike. I don't think it's fit for purpose. But for whatever reason, right, whether it's your attachments, whether it's your ego, I don't know, whatever's misinfluencing you, right, you don't stop. Then comes a time where that faulty little bike that kept fucking up, that kept giving you like grazes and scrapes and all that, one day it really fails you. Let's say you're on the road, there's a car coming, there's something happening. It goes from being a scrape to you are in a full-blown car crash, right? Something hits you, something fails you, your body's fucked up. Now we're in a really delicate position, right? Because who knows if you're going to recover? Who knows? Because you didn't want to fix a problem when it was much smaller, much more easier to address. We don't know if that's fucked up your body for life. It might now change if you can work. How you navigating life, right? But it all stems from you ignore the little signs. Illumination is that, right? It's like almost that epileptic fucking shade of white in your face being like, boom. Now what, right? I probably want to throw in 2027 is a year of devastation and stress. So 2026 will give you ripples of the losses that you will face if you do kind of fall into what I call the unsavory group, right? But illumination, you get so many clear experiences that will explain to you why your tomfoolery was bad, right? And again, everything that has influenced you to stay in that tomfoolery, you're fucked, right? Likewise, let's skip it over to blessings because, everyone is navigating this earth differently, but we sit under the same sky. So I look at it like this. As their tomfoolery is getting exposed, it does a few different things for you all, right? Number one, God forbid you are a victim of their tomfoolery, right? So all the lies, all the fraud, all the deceit, all the ignorance, right? That has a ripple effect on the people around it. One, it could quite literally free you, right? If you've been somehow manipulated, abused and kind of scared into doing stuff, when their shit starts exploding in their face, you literally go, So anything that was keeping you trapped with them or locked to them, it goes, right? Because also it's this idea, you got to remember the collapsing of colonialism. Colonialism is a financial venture. It's all about stealing wealth, hoarding wealth, policing wealth, right? And a part of that is really divisive mediums to make you fear loads of stuff. It creates it creates an inflated sense of value, of worth, of an identity, right? There's so much posturing and smoke and mirrors kind of thing. So when all of that gets almost like in Wizard of Oz, where you see that he's a dude behind a curtain, right? When all of that symbolically plays throughout your life, don't you think how empowering that would be? Generally, hibiscuses, I don't think I say this enough. The only reason I'm doing this now in my life is because I know the people I'm meant to read for are going to do really spectacular things. It's a case of like, I'm always very, I don't know if you can tell this, I'm always really, really reluctant with like my gifts. But I was like, now it's my duty to be visible and ensure they come. I cannot emphasize this to you enough. All the destruction you are seeing around you is your liberation. Okay, their economies are collapsing. Their economies were built off your labor exploitation. They were built off really nasty psychological warfare to make you feel like the poverty that you are manufactured into is your fault. No, it's not. That's a failure of society. That's a failure of a culture, of a greed, right? If we're in the collapsing of colonialism, it didn't go anywhere, right? It reformatted, it rejigged. That's what I'm saying. Like, as they get more mud on their face and like, oh my God, lashings, that's the most beautiful thing you could have. Because I truly think when you look at the illumination side for babes who, again, they ain't fucking mean or contributing to bullshit, right? It frees you of a lot of the fear around why you can never abscond, because you think that's as good as it can get. You think that's a norm. You think they're ever so powerful. In stuff being illuminated, it's also showing you their weaknesses. I'm telling you, be in your fucking villain era, because they deeply rely on you being compassionate. They rely on you wanting to debate, to compromise, meet them halfway. Baby, there is no halfway. There is no halfway in any system, culture, ideology, physical fucking place that makes profit from your suffering, right? And also, I think there's something really poetic in one vivid like thing I have is I think you're going to start to learn that like there's not shackles on you. Like it's all being illuminated. You know, the same way like you would go to a child, don't leave this room because there's a monster outside, right? Stay in this room. And then like you go and run your errands, right? So the child can't disrupt whatever you're doing, right? You are the child in this analogy, right? You're going to open that fucking door and be like, wait a minute. So you had me scared, stuck in here. And meanwhile, you're doing everything outside. Fuck that. I want a slice of the pie. I'm going into like the cookie cupboard, right? So again, that illumination hibiscuses, I think is delicious. But one thing I'd really encourage you to do as we go through that process, I need you to really think about, because again, this is colonialism. This is bad people. This is what it be like, right? They will very much be going through a crumbling, a humiliation, all of their shit getting exposed, and they will try and resell it, remix it, rebrand it like, oh, that was supposed to happen. It's not what you think it is, right? So again, I just want you to look at everything happening around you, and because look at this, if it was meant to stay, if it's secure and it's meant to be a vibe and carry on, they wouldn't have all this embarrassment. They wouldn't have all this loss. I was even thinking this morning, right? At the time of filming this, you have a real thing happening with Iranian liberation, right? And then you've had the US being like, oh, we'll do A, B, and C. And obviously that's US imperialism. They're trying to tinker with people's actual hopes and liberation, right? And they've said something like, we'll leave it to the Iranian people. But what they're not saying is, no, the Iran government handled your arse and you could not cope with whatever like military mission that you have. It's a clear fucking L, you morons, right? Even the whole thing, they kidnapped the president of Venezuela, weirdest fucking thing ever, right? What are you going to do with him now? And even then, they're like, we'll put the American oil companies in. No, a lot of the American oil companies saying, fuck that shit. We're not doing business there under these pretenses. So that's what I'm saying. Like, the stupidity is being illuminated, but they will still have the gall and the audacity to make it like their W, and it's not. It's a massive fucking L. It's a historical L, actually, in 2026, right? The other thing I'm going to say about illumination, right? It's your time to shine. It's absolutely your time to shine, right? As things begin to malfunction, glitch, and just, more apparently be seen as to why we should not be engaging, touching, or allowing this to influence us, right? People are seeking alternatives. We are on the brink of a renaissance in 2030. There is so much cool shit that's going to come, but in order for that cool shit to be recognized, to really have the impact that it's predestined to make, you need it to be abundantly clear why things before, or the way that they were nasty. They're nasty, they're rotten. Right? You need people to be repulsed. And that repulsion is going to be great for you, because all of a sudden, again, your talents and skills are recognized, your perspective is recognized, your intentions can thrive. I think a lot about, and I always feel like a little bit embarrassed about this, but when I was younger, right, I used to so badly cringe at like hippies and vegans and even climate activists. I'm like, oh my fucking, get a job, you bum bitch. I really was that coded, right? And it's ignorance, right? It's ignorance, it's a lack of education, it's a lack of context. It's also me buying into like an oppressive regime and being like, yeah. And it's like, oh, cult-like mentality, honey. It's embarrassing, please. But it's so funny to me. That's me, 10 years ago? We can maybe even push it to a big 5 or 6, right? Now look at me as we close out the decade. I am for these babes. I'm like, damn right, listen to Brenda. Brenda's been out here for 30 years telling you they are killing the babies by chopping down the forest, right? But the time is right now for Brenda. And God bless Brenda, right? Who's been doing that fucking activism for decades and decades. Everyone been looking at Brenda like she's a crazy bitch. And I'm like, oh, Brenda, I apologize, babe. We're with you. What do you need? This is a time where you're being illuminated on purpose, but you can only come through, via the funkiness. So again, you got to remember, when an empire collapses, it will try to suppress and kind of cloak the next group of leaders, right? It's really important you don't minimize yourself. Illumination, you will be seen now. You will be recognized. Go forth, go front. But you got to be ballsy. Listen, this era that you find yourself reincarnated in, it is not for the faint of heart. It's not for a crash out. It's not for a short-sighted bitch, right? It is very much for someone who has long-term vision, has a really deep sense of purpose and intention, and everything will work out. You have never been more favored for things to work out for you. And there's a reason I tell you guys all the time that you're the new ancestors. You give them the playground that allows them to build and have wildly different societies compared to what we suffered under. And that's beautiful, right? But that requires a little bit of finesse. It requires a little bit of knowing how to posture, do up the politics. And it requires a lot of audacity. It requires a lot of audacity and self-belief, but you will get there, right? Same, was it before Mandami got elected, right? Literally months before. I literally said he's going to win. And people no, I think you're confused. What happened in New York is this. And I was like, no, I know what I said, right? And people someone like him can't win. And when I tell you, you have never been more perfectly aligned to do a madness, boom, right? But it comes together. Sip on that jar, huh? The second theme is arrogance, hibiscus. Now, I definitely believe you can do the maths and prophesize what will come in 2026 when we think about arrogance. But I want to go through a different perspective, right? We are in the collapsing of colonialism, right? That's the whole vibe for these decades ahead. And the one thing that I think really stood out to me when I started studying about colonialism and, I think just learning about, what does it look like across the world? What are the main factors and all of that? And one thing that always really stuck with me is, one, it never went anywhere. It got reformatted, it got rejigged, it got normalized, right? It was kind of I truly believe it was they gave us a false sense of freedom and then manufactured us into a different kind of imperialism, a different kind of slavery, like, because the rebellions got that bad, they knew they couldn't do it in like plain sight, right? So that leads us to exist in many different societies across the world where we are suffering under an oppressive ideology, right? And for the people who are worshippers of that oppressive ideology, I imagine, of course, they're confident and of course they're arrogant because that ideology has never successfully been held accountable. That ideology has never successfully been dismantled and blown up in their faces. So I do believe there's a quiet faith that they possess, that you can ride the waves. There's always like these hiccups of rebellions or resistance, but we always win. We always claw them back. We always get them under our thumb. It is that arrogance that we also should be really happy that they have, because let me tell you something, it allows us to maneuver deliciously in ways they are not expecting, cannot see, right? But ultimately, it's that arrogance that fails them. You know, I talk a lot about politics because for me, everything is political, right? The same way everything is spiritual. For me, they're also very, very closely linked. But I look at a lot of the different matters that are plaguing these beautiful communities and cultures across the world. And one thing that I think is humorful and makes me very hopeful is these oppressors are going by a playbook that is biblical to them. It has never failed them. These are words that always work out for them, right? But it's like, even now, in the midst of their failures, they cannot understand how it's condemning them to their destruction, right? And it's almost like they're dumbfounded why these playbooks are not being as effective as they historically have been, right? And it's like their arrogance is also, again, it's such a big blessing for us because they never really think they would be opposed. Let's think about the boycotts. You know, my life has changed so much in the last 2 years when it comes to my consumer habits. And it's something that like, it blows my mind, but also like I'm proud of, right? Because I tried to do it in my youth very superficially and it just never worked out. And there's just been something in these 2 years where like, I haven't fucking touched or sniffed a McDonald's in God knows how long, right? Oh, I would fucking rather piss on the steps of a Starbucks and step into it. What else? Like, Amazon I delete, like, but the thing is, there's something really, I don't know if it's like a spiritual thing, right? But the more I have disconnected and disengaged and kind of like removed those companies and like their advertising, even, this is probably a bit petty of me, but I think it's kind of necessary too. If I follow anybody and they end up being a brand ambassador for these people or, you know, keeking and working with them, blocked, immediately blocked. I don't care how long I've been following them. I don't care how long I've been down bad for them. I remove. And there is this certain like richness and happiness and joy that's been creeping into my life. And I really do think there's something directly linked to that, right? But my point was, right, going back to arrogance, you have these large very insidious organizations who contribute to so much pain and suffering around the world. They never felt like they could never be it, right? There's always this assumption that we will acquire any small competitor that comes in. Everyone loves us, we're everywhere. But there was always, their arrogance never allowed them to imagine a time where people would actually just be repulsed by what they represent and what their conduct creates. But I truly also think that arrogance is such a blessing. There's a reason I talk so passionately that our liberation is connected to our consumption. Think about how people being deterred from McDonald's, from Starbucks, all these very big, dominant, like conglomerates and brands, right? It's allowed the birth of like independent food retailers. Like one of the most activist advice I could ever give you is shop local, right? Instead of going to McDonald's, go to your local boss man, boshing out the kebab, boshing out the burgers, boshing out the pizza, right? Go to that beautiful immigrant couple that's come to your country and they're cooking up interesting cuisines, right? That's where you really get them, because colonialism is financial, honeys, right? It's always going to be a financial venture. So I just, again, their arrogance leads to terrible consequences for them. But I truly think, and you can see me grinning right now, it's beautiful. And I hope for them to be really fucking arrogant, because in their arrogance is their defeat, right? But also flip it, right? Look at it like this. For so long, many of you have slept on yourselves, right? And it always makes me giggle when people come for readings, because there's always a few things, right? There's always people who think they're great for they're destined for greatness. It's like, no, you're just a pompous prick. Like, sit down, right? And then you get people who are so deliciously talented. They're so unique and original in thought, right? But they really, and they're not, I don't think they're scared of making a fool out of themselves, but for some reason they never think they could be that important, right? And I promise you, there is this delightful energy that will wash you in 2026 that will confirm you have every reason to be arrogant. You've got to remember, right? When you talk about like energies kind of opposing each other and facing off, right? Arrogance is such a weird weapon, right? Because it can allow someone to defend themselves because you can posture you're much more stronger than you are, hoping it intimidates the opposition from coming any closer or striking you, right? But also, for the underdog, when you start becoming arrogant, talking your shit, like, but the thing is, it's not even arrogance. It's your natural disposition. You should feel confident. You should feel proud and in charge and like masterful, right? If someone is making money through your oppression, through your low self-esteem, basically from really fucking you up and corroding you, right? Turning you into pittances, how fucking scary must it be when you see that bitch rise up? It's like, throw your punch, do it. I'm not fucking worried. The conversation around AI, honey, is the way these fuckers think they can like, and the thing is, it's a learning machine. I feel so bad when we say AI because I'm like, guys, the actual stuff they've given us is a learning machine. It's not even like real AI, right? But I look at it and I'm like, you disillusioned hoes, right? You literally think you could create anything that would be remotely as awe-inspiring, as captivating, like what? And then it's also like you're seeing like people who are different kinds of crafts people, all of that, really step up their shit and be like, you will pay me my money for this because it's not slop, but I do A, B, and C. So again, there's just this really beautiful energy, right? That it's funny to me because it builds off the year of the great humiliation, right? Where you would like to think if you're asked being embarrassed, you would sit down and fix up, do a whole PR thing, right? No, you're just going further and further. And that's where the stupidity part comes in, right? You had the chance to pivot, you didn't want to. So now, you know, what's that thing? You want to play stupid fucking games, you get stupid fucking prizes, right? We are very much in that era. But that's the arrogance part. So don't feel bad if as you go through this year, you find, you know, chest getting a little bit stronger, you're out here, you're wanting to be more visible, you're being more expendable. That doesn't mean you're going to be punished, right? It's just, I think it's the natural divine play, it's the Leela, right? That's the natural change. Because again, energy can't be destroyed, it can only be transformed. So you have two options, right? You either sink deeper and become more pathetic, which is a reality for many, right? Or you go, actually, I don't choose this hell. I don't choose this prison. I reject this reality, if you will. But like, I'm going to do something. And also, really comfortingly, if you all have built, honestly, so much with so little, why do you not think when you have nothing, you could build everything? I promise you, right, there is something so delicious in destruction and despair that it will do something to your psyche, to your heart. It is almost like this fuel, and I stand by. Stuff like this takes the most ordinary people and makes them capable of extraordinary things, right? There's like some spiritual math behind that, but that was seen too. So again, arrogance, it's going to contribute to this ongoing stand-up set of the collapsing of colonialism. The last theme I wanted to touch on is Sun talks about taking a seat of power, right? Emphasis on taking, because it's not going to be given. Look at the motion that we're going in, right? On a serious note, you are seeing fascist regimes, and it doesn't matter how normal they try and present themselves, how kind of sugarcoating they do to their violent intentions and their more concerning kind of outputs, right? We are in a time where they're not going anywhere and they do not plan to make it easy to, I think, establish fair societies. That's like, because again, imagine, you're on your way out, right? We're talking about the collapsing of colonialism. This is an ideology that has plagued this earth for hundreds of years, right? And it's all they know. Do you think if someone is actually faced with the reality, all the fucking weird shit that you're used to benefiting you is no longer going to run, they're going to go out pretty? Do you think they're going to be like, you know what, I understand, thank you for letting us have our time, I'm just going to scoot over here? Nah. So what this time also requires is that almost like that Punjabi lion energy, right? You have to be a shooter. This, I can't emphasize this enough. This is not the era for crash outs. This is not the era for people who are easy disheartened. It's not for the weak. It really isn't, right? It is for those people. And it's not that, like, look at it like this, right? You don't even have to be big and bad in personality, but there has to be like a strength. There has to be a conviction. Because the thing is, if you think for a second this is going to be a fair fight, you are the easiest fucking like slaughter, right? It's going to be in someone who has unwavering conviction that I'm going to fucking make this happen, and they go for it. Because it will not be given to you. Why would your oppressor ever give you the keys to your liberation? What we have seen is we didn't get the keys for liberation. We literally got some janky ass plastic thing that we were told, oh, maybe if you twist it this way, it'll work. I think it's something wrong with your keys, but we gave it to you. It's there. And it's like, obviously fucking not, right? So this requires someone to be like, fuck asking them for the keys, pass me the axe, we busting through this bitch. We getting through this door. We're not saying trapped here anymore, right? But you just need to be mindful, it works both ways. So I have quite literal predictions where I'm telling you, like, yeah, you're going to see way more scammy politics. Your elections are going to be fucking fake. There's going to be so many evident things of tampering, of delaying, of blocking, essentially seizing power and holding on to it. But don't lose hope. Do not sit on a strategy that doesn't allow you to progress forward. Be adaptable, be agile, right? Because again, collapsing of colonialism, you're going to get that seat of power. It's just a case of, I think, endurance, of strategy, and again, always pushing forward. Don't sit down, right? Do not let, because the second you sit down, you think you are fighting for this much power, they'll make it this much, right? They are literally dying for your complacency, your tiredness, your pessimism, right? So you have to be agile, you have to be motivated, you have to be energized. I'm not being funny. You see me every fucking day. I'm sorry for terrorizing your screens that much, right? But you see me every fucking day across several platforms. And you see me like that, what, for 2 years consistently? You don't think there's times like in my personal life or when I'm bear witness to the same events of you where like I'm just like, I'm tired, I don't want to do this. No, because I understand my role. And I also understand there's nothing more petrifying than a visible bitch who for many years, every prediction I've ever said has come true. So if I'm telling you it's a collapsing of colonialism, it's a collapsing colonialism. And I like, everyone, even stuff where people like they're censoring you. You think I give a fuck? If you cared, you'll go to my page and you'll come and check me out because I know who I'm meant to be for, right? I don't chase fame. I have a very detailed prophecy in my mind of what will be and what's to come. My only fucking job is one, to stay alive. But other than that, is to fuel the thing that allow that prophecy to come, right? You have to have that. You have to have that conviction in you, right? And my stuff isn't limited to astrology. Oh, babies, in the future, me and you see us across different industries and sectors. But the thing is, you have to go for it. You can't. If I could give you any piece of advice, right, and this is maybe more of an economical thing, and I'm sorry if this comes across childish, and I'll flesh it out so it comes a bit more serious. Your safety and prosperity will literally come from making your own money. I think you are going to see the destruction of white collar, right? I think you are going, like, short of you being like a healthcare professional, a teacher, perhaps a civil servant, right? So you work in your councils, you keep the community good. Now we're looking at construction workers, plumbers, electricians. You run the local food store, right? Astrologers too, right? But my thing is, the more you put yourself in a position to trade by yourself in your local community, I promise you will be wealthier than most. The whole gag is it's financial. At some point, there is such a collapsing that they have nothing to stand behind. But for as long as you work for them, and this is more particular to certain organizations, I would say, and like certain institutions, they have minor power, and it's minor. It doesn't have the influence it used to have or anything like that. But my whole thing is you have to strive towards it, right? And it's always that thing. It's always that fear, right? That you're like, well, I've never done it before. What happens if I'm being over optimistic, blah, blah, blah. That's the point of colonialism. They literally scare you and like, they almost make you feel embarrassed, and you have no reason to. That, like, if you absconded from them, if you did something on your own terms and blah, 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 it wouldn't work out. I'm the perfect example of this. Like, I always laugh because I'm currently going through something in my private life, right? And we're going through the phases of my astrology. But, like, you've got to imagine, from a little child, in my astrology book, that's like Love and Craft when you're a kid, right? It says exactly what I'm going to do. And in it clearly outlines astrology. And I'm like, fuck no, I'm not doing that shit. It's not a stable job. There's no source of income. Also, I'm not a freak. Have you seen these weirdos, right? I'm not this religious freak. I'm not someone who's filled with misogyny and nationalism under the guise of spirituality. Like, fuck these people, right? And then, even in the background, I'm doing astrology, but I'm doing it more like, I would say, quote unquote, a hobby or just something that brings me joy and gives me a break, right? And the whole thing is, I was never bad at my career at tech or management consultancy. I'm creme de la creme, right? And it's so funny, but it's like, even when I went into astrology full time, God made that happen because I wasn't taking the steps, right? And the thing that always makes me laugh now, all the fears that I had over everything was so fake. And there's little moments where I'm like, I understand why everything happens the way it happens because your heart has to be there, right? But there's so many times where I'm like, I can't believe I literally was making like multi-millions for other companies. I was building startups. And I don't know what hijacked my mind that I thought I could not apply that energy for myself, right? And this is not capitalistic in terms of you have to be a multi-millionaire, but I have never known safety, security, and prosperity the way I have now working for myself. And obviously there's a question of like, are you doing like the karmic career that's written for you in A, B, and C? That is so different to tech and finance. That was never stable. It was always volatile. It was always tumultuous. And yeah, it was big money, but I made more money. That's what I'm saying. Like, there has to be something in your mind that clicks and you take a seat of power. And also, this is why I tell you all, stop looking at these political parties as your saviors. Why is it not you, dickhead? Why, like, everything that angers you should fuel you to create the change. Everything you dislike, go and create things that you like, right? The whole thing is you have to meet the energy. Destruction is creation. But, you can't. Listen, if you are sitting in a place that's burning down and your fucking default is to sit there and cry and weep, the house is going to collapse on you and you're a victim. You're gone. Right? But if you get up, if you make it happen, however it's written for you, even if you pace yourself, you will be so much safer than these fucking people. And also for the people who are clinging to a seat of power that obviously is not meant to be out, like, you're done. You're not even cooked. You're eviscerated, right? Again, it's divinely written. Even in them clinging, it literally helps them bury their own graves. Because also, imagine clinging to a seat of power that no one recognizes and no one respects and is influenced by. So what have you actually maintained? That's why I keep telling you, everything happening around you has never been more effective and positive to create such beautiful, beautiful things. But you got to rise. Like, you got to body up, right? This is not the time for your airy fairy. This is not for your time of this is too much. This is not for your time of I'm going to sit this one out. This time will always favor the game changers. It will always favor them. It's meant to be their time. It's written for their times. There's so much karma behind these people. There's so much ancestral work behind it. There's so much, right? Use it. The last thing I want to say about the sun is when you look at it, right, I truly think, I've been reading, oh my God, only for 17 years. I want to throw up, right? But for me, the sun has always shown how someone will create their own suffering. Look at it like this. So, in Vedic astrology, right, you'll hear stuff like the sun is debilitated, the sun is exalted, right? The reason they'll say the sun is debilitated, what they're actually saying is this is someone who lacks self-awareness. So it doesn't dictate their success, right? But we know there is something with that individual soul that even as they ascend through life, right, and they have their blessings in A, B, and C, they will always fuck it up for themselves because they are not aware of how their actions are impacting the ecosystem around them. And in that ignorance, in that, like, I don't know, denial mindset, unawareness, something will happen that will eventually take them down, right? Bada boom, bada bing. When you talk about the sun is exalted, it doesn't even mean a lifetime of glorious things, right? The reason it's seen as strength is because it's someone who is aware of their surroundings, right? So say, for instance, we can use this in two different types of leaders. Leader A is debilitated sun. Leader B is exalted sun, right? Leader A is technically making a lot of money, but the money is coming through the exploitation of workers. The money is coming through bombing and harming other countries to kind of keep them under thumb and give up their resources, right? So for a while, naturally, there's a certain level of wealth coming through. However, what they're not seeing is you're creating an uprising, right? And also, in this violence, it becomes very apparently clear that all you know is thievery. Like, everything that is weak and stupid is being abundantly shown, right? But because the person is so wrapped up in, I've achieved this goal, achieved this goal, achieved this goal, it's not paying attention to how that ecosystem is reacting to its victory. And ultimately, it's not paying attention to the sources that allow them to have that wealth and to have that victory. Well, they're changing up on you, right? Because all it's seeing is just focusing on the money. It's like the money's coming in, money's coming, money coming. It's not looking at the quality of the sources anymore, right? Then you have leader B, right? Leader B might have, we'll say, a stable, but nothing exciting in terms of economics, right? However, leader B is very aware that people are coming through hardships. Leader B is aware that the people are health-wise not that great because before there was generations of exploitation, right? Now, leader B being able to understand the mood of that room and also to have awareness what structures and systems have led to the things that are kind of harming their people and all of that, goes, okay, right? This is how we're going to fix it. And we're going to acknowledge it head on. We'll say, listen, we know you have been failed in A, B, and C, but this is what we've created, right? And also, because there is that awareness, leader B is more alert of enemy, of opposition. He can see the way they're going to maneuver. He's going to see how they're going to take advantage of certain misforgivings, right? He sees how the enemy could exploit people who are suffering in that society to favor them, right? But that self-awareness allows him to do a madness, right? And in that visibility and honesty, fortunes change. There's also something known as like the wheel of fortune, if you will, right? And it's really funny because when you study like different moments of history through different cultures, they all kind of have something that's like wheel of fortune, right? And it's always this understanding times always change. So when the good times come, enjoy them, but be cautious that this can quickly change if you do not kind of stay aware in A, B, and C. And like anything, when you get too spoiled, you'll corrode. There's nothing good in too much pleasure, right? And likewise, when you are suffering and you are in a time of adversity and stress, fortunes change. And perhaps the things that are stressing you are making you stronger. So when the wheel changes, you have the most strategy and strength to hold more blessings and more treasures than you ever done. And also you won't be corroded because you understand what rots these things and how to protect them. Do you see the energy we're entering when I say 2026 is a year of success and stupidity? Before we move on, let me just walk you through the years, right? 2025 was the year of the great humiliation, right? One side is your shit stinks, it's not working, stop, right? The other side is, aren't you feeling embarrassed in you not thinking you were capable, right? Do you see how you were getting in your own way? And likewise, their humiliation is leading for you being more recognized as maybe this isn't so silly, right? 2026 is the year of stupidity and success. So again, it is emphasized why their shit is not good, and it's emphasized why your shit is brilliant, right? Then it gets to 2027, the year of devastation and stress. Losses are permanent now. They had so much time, they didn't pivot, they were arrogant, whatever, right? There are irreversible losses that happens to their cultures, their communities, their economics, it's cemented, right? But even in that devastation, it will quietly anoint you as to why you are the right one for these times. And whilst you cannot change the devastation that they have caused, you can create something so devastation never comes again, right? It's all connected. And also, you are very responsible for what you experience. I've always said, when I do my predictions, you have nothing to sweat about unless you're a cunt. If you're a cunt, yeah, terrible times. I don't know how you get out of bed, motherfucker, but it is what it is. Now let's go through some predictions about what you can see. My first prediction for the stupidity part of 2026 is, I would label it, denial is a river in Egypt. Because truly, whatever lies, whatever schemes, like whatever that is, that these people have used to avoid the reality of who they are and what they've been up to, it's obliterated. And again, we can look across this in so many different places, right? So, I'm talking a lot about divorce on TikTok. All of you confused, my God, perhaps trapped victims, whatever crap you are lying to yourself about why you need to stay in that partnership, all of that is ripped from you, right? Whatever weird reputation that you've concocted, obliterated, right? I think a lot about these companies who are like, we care in A, B, and C. Watch the amount of shit that comes out about, that's not true. Imagine what our politics looks like, right? But in so many ways, right? All the lies, right? All of the misinformation, all of the manufacturing, whatever they've used to mask behind what they're truly up to, who they truly are, it is obliterated. And my whole thing is hibiscuses. When it is, it's so important you do not stick around for the apology tours. It is so important that you accept the reality of what's being shown about these people, again, whether it's your personal, professional, public lives, whatever, and you move on. Do not give them a second of airtime to try to explain themselves. Because best believe, behind closed doors, they would have had for about a decade, right? That a reckoning is coming, stop, this is not right, blah, 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 right? But they got arrogant, right? They got consumed. So they never thought they would be in a position where everything they used to hide behind would be obliterated. But it will be, right? And the only thing I could say, if that applies to your personal life, right? It is probably a blessing, whatever false narrative you've been feeding yourself from has been ripped from you. Because otherwise, like what you're not seeing is, right, whatever this denial is, it's quite literally imprisoning you. So is it not merciful that like all that bullshit be ripped away from you, right? And the other thing I would say to you guys is be very conscious of your consumption. Any bullshit that you've been on to excuse why you can't stop doing something, why a person's eye, right? All of that, it's gone. I think about all these people who defend rapists. I think about all these people who, for some reason, say like, oh, it's not that bad. Like all of that's wiped out. And again, it's setting the stage for collapsing of colonialism. It's only when you truly see how rotted and shitty something is, then the cleanup job can begin. Otherwise, a lot of you will internally spend time sitting in the fucking shit and be like, I'm so happy to be in this brown coloured sand. It's like, you literally fucking maneuver, get up, get your fucking dignity, clean yourself down, the fuck, right? But yeah, levels of stupidity, self-fed narratives, all destroyed, all exposed, and it's a blessing, for sure. Now, number 2, I think I'm going to label crimes of stupidity, right? Hear me out. And this will probably be a separate like cosmic chit chat. As we can tell, we are in the era of people working out they have been misinfluenced by fucking idiots with insidious intentions, right? Now, one of the ramifications of that, you are going to see people do crazy shit or suffer major losses because they took advice from these weirdos. And again, it's the price that must be paid on our journey towards liberation, because otherwise, right, they will always listen to the fools who imprison us, who make us suffer, who exploit us, right? So sometimes it has to blow up in your face. And also it's shots, right? It's a trigger warning to anybody else who is misinfluenced by these freaks. This is really what it is. And it was so funny because I immediately was actually thinking a lot about like content creators, and I was like, you know, and you're seeing it in glimmers already. Like, we're in January 2026. I'll keep it respectful, but there are so many people who follow, like, I think cult-like personalities for like advice about relationships, finance, like whatever, right? And it's becoming more evident why this is not good advice. And also it's intertwined, because my thing is, right, there's a lot of different things. I think in 2026, you're actually going to see people commit crimes that are inspired by this advice. So I think last year I did a video on Leo Skeppy, right? That whole man is designed to go to prison. There's something really terrible waiting for him around the corner, right? But I remember I had this vivid prediction where I was like, this idiot is going to say something or do something, right? And it's going to lead to one of his followers or kind of the consumers of his work to go and do something really violent or creepy. And the way he will use Leo Skeppy's name is going to be insane. And then it starts a whole thing of where, like, not just like Skeppy, right? But people who are adjacent to that, they will actually start, we're in the karmic prison. What do you think is happening? This is not just a time of, oh, they're so silly and they were doing it for money. No, like, your ass is going to jail. Or even if you flip it on your head, right? You might have people who consciously are taking advantage of people, right? This is also a time where those people will kind of commit crimes and scary stuff against them. Because imagine your entire fame, if you like your wealth, whatever that is, right? It has come from you exploiting people who naturally are not that stable, right? Or they're very vulnerable and they need specific kinds of help. And, you know, there's a lot happening. You are literally going to be put in a position where either three things, right? Number one, you're no longer going to want to perform because you're now spooked out by them, right? Number two, it'll be a really somber and almost like you might feel a little suicidal, right? But you will work out how you have imprisoned and enslaved yourself to performing for these people. And I wouldn't be surprised. 2026, you're going to see a lot of creators or like public figures walk away from their career. And they'll tell you it's something else. But I want you to know it's because they are horrified by their own communities and audiences. And they don't want to put themselves in danger. Or like, I don't know, there's some moment with God where they're like, oh, fuck, right? So you have that. And I think thirdly, so what would that be? There'll be crimes they'll commit on behalf of bad advice. There'll be times where they feel imprisoned because of who they've been pandering to. I think the third thing for me actually would be, it becomes like really, really obvious why their advice is not good. I wonder if there would be a lot of, what's it called? Plagiarism that's revealed. So much plagiarism, right? But either way, right? When you talk about success and stupidity, what I'm trying to say is there is this really big theme, right, where people have clearly built platforms, communities, political campaigns, parties, whatever, through ignorance, right? Through like denial, through all these very, very like skewed things. Consequences are coming, right? Yeah, I think a lot of bad guys will be exposed, right? And I also think, and it's an ever-growing trend also, you know how a lot of people say, oh, I didn't know. Like, they kind of weaponize their ignorance to kind of get them out, maybe picking a political side or, you know, being held accountable for like, well, why are you doing business with them? This is, whatever that tactic is, it's going to create a lot of financial losses. I have some really hot takes about 2027 onwards. I think you're actually going to see the collapsing of Google, Apple, and like Meta in our lifetime. The only thing where I feel a bit weird about is with Google, because I know they acquired YouTube, I wonder how that would work out. But for the rest of them, I keep having these really strong feelings that they're going to collapse. People need to take their money out. And like within our like the same way they rose, they'll fall within our lifetimes, right? Nothing is I know we joke about it, but you know when people talk about MySpace, didn't MySpace feel like it was forever? And where did it go? Just because something maybe is more out there and ongoing doesn't mean it's forever. My God, it's not fucking like, it's not dating. But yeah, there's gonna be stuff where it's like whatever the lies were that allowed them to keep making money, even if it was on unsavory terms, people are not buying into that bullshit. And if you like kind of boycott them, block, delete them, move away from them, and they suffer losses because of that like intentional choosing of I didn't know, or you know, you're seeing this trend at the moment. Celebrity goes, I'm not really well informed, I want people to go to experts. It's like, no. Like even now, you're seeing it kind of against Timothy Chalamet. You'll see it increasingly. The whole thing is all of it has to collapse, and all of our sectors are underpinned by colonialism and oppression. So a lot of the norms in our sectors and industries are inherently nasty. They cause a lot of pain. They contribute to like quite literally war and the harm of other people. So somehow, some way, it's all going to be washed away. But I think you're going to see major waves of it happening in 2026. And whilst initially it might look like a trend or like kind of like a freak thing, it will become normalized. Like that's my point. No one's going back to these people, right? But the shock factor contributes to that, right? I really do think you are going to see the shutting down of organizations, of brands, of figures, for essentially their crimes of stupidity, and they'll be held accountable for it. There'll be financial losses for it. They even might contributing to the changes in laws and regulations in certain sectors due to the nature of the shit the stupidity caused. Sip deeply on a jar, maybe grab a snack. Now, the final prediction I have, I would label the brain rot crises. So for me, right, 2027, we're going to have all kinds of fucking lively conversations, but there's a transit that's going to happen in 2027. And initially when I was studying it, I thought it would be like educational institutions would have problems. Like, you know, like quite physically, like stuff around education. I was like, oh, there's going to be issues, there's going to be problems and all of that. But when I was kind of thinking, well, how would this be interconnected to everything that we're seeing? I think there generally is several different crises that occur because of the lack of education and the quality of education, because we're in the collapsing of colonialism, right? And again, as I like learn about it from so many different cultures and like historical perspectives, education plays a huge role in keeping people enslaved. It's a reason we accept the mediocrity of what colonialism produces, right? So again, let's put this together. Success and stupidity is the year, right? Number one, you have large populations of the world who have been deeply misinformed, right? There are going to be economic repercussions. There are going to be sexual repercussions. There are going to be healthcare repercussions. Society, there is no way you can spend, even if it feels like a small amount of time, right? But you cannot spend that amount of time so viciously and intentionally kind of drilling shit into people's brain, and you don't think there's a big push, right? I was thinking a lot. I think you guys might see it if you're on YouTube and into the video essays like I am, right? But I was noticing there's a trend on YouTube around we're now in medieval times, right? And feel free to put it in the comment section if you know. Like, I feel like I need to start doing historical references to other ages of man, right? But they were saying, like, in the medieval ages, there were always this idea of, like, the darkness of ignorance, and people had, like, really skewed beliefs, and they were doing weird shit because intentionally they had kind of been... education had been, like, what would you say, cut off from them or kind of gatekept from them. But then I was thinking also 2000s and 30s is the Renaissance. And also I think, like, whatever this funky blue cheese era that we find ourselves in, the first phase I actually think brings a return of great education, of magnificent research, of so much, like, philosophers, inventors. Like, I think we're literally going to see a resurgence of so much beautiful stuff. But my thing is, I feel like that only comes in the face of, like, really egregious shit, right? The other thing I was thinking about, again, we're living through fascism. We are seeing many misguided countries become anti-immigrant, which is fucking stupid, because by the end of the day, we're all immigrants. There's no one on this earth, maybe short of people who live in very specific Japanese islands or that kind of flex, that can say our ancestors are from here. No, they're not. At some point, everyone immigrates somewhere, you dickhead, right? But I was thinking about this. You know how they're like, get out the immigrants, right? Everyone's forgetting these immigrants are workers with valuable knowledge, experience, talents, and skills. Anybody think there's a slight chance once they've kind of got their wishes about fuck these people, and also people don't want to come, which people are not talking about either, it becomes abundantly clear the populations that you think should be empowered are deeply inadequate. Colonialism is so much about fucking mediocrity and an inflated sense of value and fucking worth. I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. So again, like in 2026, I don't know why I'm giggling, right? That's really amazing for a lot of you babes, right? You're just gonna be more validated, more money in your pocket, the more reason people will come to you, right? But there's gonna be this really big thing of like, oh, we are not adequately educated, prepared, and informed to do certain things. And it's gonna really backfire on them, right? And I also wonder, I was thinking about Trump because of he does actually have dementia. Like in his chart, you can see he's meant to have dementia, Alzheimer's, the whole thing. And I've been watching like some of his new stuff recently, and I'm like, my grandfather had dementia. I'm like, you literally are mirroring. Well, my grandfather wasn't crazy like that, but I'm like, yeah, this is all the body language of someone who is suffering with something upstairs. The fuck, right? So a part of me is wondering, like, if it becomes abundantly clear that something's not right there. I was also thinking of, was it RFK Jr., because apparently it's a worm in his brain. I was like, could be quite literal when we talk about a brain rot crisis, right? What's the other thing? Oh, I had this, because 2027 comes afterwards, right? Hopefully you've seen the video that I've done for 2027 by then, or you follow me on Patreon where I'm basically screaming out my most raw internal thoughts about what's to come, right? But for us to enter that financial and healthcare crises, is there not something happening in 2026 that shows the failure leads to that? So, for instance, I'm thinking about how many people are on maybe certain medications. And again, you can't patient blame, right? But I think a lot about stuff like people misusing like Ozempic and Mounjaro and stuff like that. It's not properly researched. It's very clearly associated to like really terrible ideologies and kind of poor self-image. You don't think there's a chance that could fuck up your body and have you glitching? There's so much that's coming where I'm like, because everything we're in the era of long in the making. None of this is shocking. It was all avoidable. And it is kind of like this dramatic end of Act 1 where they go, but this is why it should have never been, right? And it all kind of surges up. But there's something there where I do think maybe something in our day-to-day lives that we're not suspecting is actually harming our mental health, or like maybe it's actually like physically our neurology, and it just becomes apparent, right? There's a lot there. And I also wonder if it'll be stuff, because I've been really thinking about kids recently, which is new for me. But I have loads of predictions for kids coming through, but I think I want to work out how to frame that in a digestible way, because like that's someone's babies, right? Like no one wants to hear shit like that, but you also have to be honest so you can prepare. I wonder if there's something about like some of these parents where they've caused their kids like harm, or would it be something like our societies have got so bad because again we're manufactured into poverty and ill health that like it's affecting like the mortality rates of children. But there's something there, like when I think of the brain rot crisis, it's just this amalgamation of, I don't know if stupidity is a correct word, but all of that shit, and it just is diabolical consequences, right? And also, I think, I wondered, but we have the wrong governments at the moment. I wonder if any like policies would come out to kind of combat brain rot or people moving crazy out here. Yeah, so when I talk about the year of stupidity, it's unveiled, like it's fully unveiled. Stupidity starts having consequences that people thought were never going to happen, which obviously they were. But on the plus side, everything that's revealed to be stupid is your stay to shine, hibiscuses. And finally, we have the success part. Look, hibiscuses, I think it's really clear through our cosmic chit chat today that their stupidity is essentially the stage for your success. You have to look at it like this, right? Colonialism is so much about illusions. It's Maya, right? It's always like an inflated sense of value, of worth, identity. It's a lot to do to cover up actually how weak, pathetic, and just shit it is. But if we're in the year of illumination, it's all ripped away, right? Now, the thing that I want you to keep in mind, right? During this time, I appreciate you might be scared, right? But you need to understand, don't give in to that frightedness. Look at it like this, right? Any empire, any form of oppression, before they collapse, they always get more militant because they know failure is imminent, right? So what they're going to do, they are going to try their best to spook, to cloak, like all of it. They do not want the next set of leaders to be revealed. That's why your visibility is so important. And this hits so many different facets of our societies from the end. So for instance, right, we live in a time where all the entertainers that got their fame were people who were upholding fascist ideologies, were people who were enabling really nasty, like kind of colonial norms, right? People are naturally going off them for a fucking reason. So when people are going off them, what stories do they want to hear? What entertainment do they want to see? Same goes for politics. Everyone is so tired of picking between two lesser evils and people bullshitting for us. No one even wants to fuck with the parties anymore. They want independent. They want local. They want radically different. Everything we are going through, hibiscuses, is perfectly designed for you to shine. Because everything is so merciful. Because if anything had happened previously, they would not have understood you. They would not have got behind you. The collective awareness would not be there. You exist in a time where it is. So you have to be visible. You have to show up every day. Like, you have to take a seat of power. Everything in 2026 is so coded for you to win, right? And the thing is, you got to remember, with like abusers, with oppressors, all kinds of exploiters, they really rely on you minimizing yourself, right? They want you to feel like the fuckeries they committed on you is something you should feel embarrassed and ashamed about. No. And also, isn't it funny when you speak up, how many other people wake up to like they've been hurt that way? And it begins the path of justice. This is my whole thing, right? The reason it's the year of success, because there are so many people through this really tumultuous time, whether they like it or not, people are going to see them, right? All of a sudden, the work they were doing, the perspectives that they have, all of it starts clicking on for other people. And it is in the midst of this chaos where you will shine. But it's important that you allow yourself to shine, right? And also, I think it's important to understand, do not lose your influence or kind of that pacing upwards by staying stuck in the mud with doing the back and forth with these idiots. Because these idiots are about to have the curtains closed on them, right? So these idiots will do anything to have limelight. It's really important to know how to kind of keep light on yourself and not allow it to like even cast anything on them. Keep them in the shadows, right? But the reason I say it's a year of success, because all that hard work you've been up to, it pays off, right? Everything about your identity is now meant to be appreciated. There's so much that's there to enable you to succeed. I think you have to want it. And I think you have to go for it, because the sun rule year will not favor people who are insecure. It will not favor anyone who is even extreme in ideology. So let's quickly talk about that actually, right? Think about what I've said previously. The 2000s and 30s are going to be a renaissance, right? We're on the crux of a workers' revolution. The success belongs to stable personalities, grounded personalities, communal personalities. No one's going to be impressed by extreme flamboyance. No one's going to be impressed by extreme ideologies, because that's what's led to this mess. What they're looking for are educators. What they are looking for are craftspeople. What they are looking for are people who are eager to learn. They're looking for realness, right? And also, people need your shine. If you come to success in a 2026 year, you play such a big role in the upcoming years. It's important that you understand what your light does for other people. I saw this really lovely TikTok yesterday, actually, where the guy said, if anyone's ever complimented you that you inspire them, you have no fucking right to give up or stop doing what you're doing. Do you know like how divine that is and how hard it is to do? And I think about that a lot. Like, even now, there's something for me that's more interesting about the marginalized people who are getting visibility now than they did during the like fake superficial diversity inclusion years, because a lot of those people were puppets and tokens. A lot of those people were propped up because it was seen as safe representation to oppressors and people who, again, make money from us being degraded, exploited and harmed. And now the fuckers who are coming up are really rock and roll. And they also, because the collapsing of colonialism is a lot to do with identity and recognizing what aspects of our identity have been poisoned by colonialism. They speak to what joy, what movement, what liberation looks like when you are not held back by the poisons. And for them to be visible is going to do stuff to other people's psyches. So yeah, the success part, bada boom, bada bing. Let me quickly walk you through some themes that I saw. So I went through every year that was a sun ruled year. I also think these are going to be like very physical things that you will see. So number one, the recession will start kicking in. In 2027, there's going to be a big financial crash. In 2026, you'll begin to start early glimmers of that. Next, we're going to see the increase of proxy wars. It will get more violent. It will get more outrageous. But also, one thing I want you to keep in mind is in 2026, there will be a lot of election fraud or election tampering and delays. It's really important. Remember what I said. Take a seat of power. Do not wait. Take it. You're also going to see oil prices crash. The next one for that, and let me know if you want to have a separate conversation about this, countercultures begin. So, we were all stuck in a weird moment in time where everyone just kept copying aesthetics and things from the past. Even now, I want to slap you bitches who are like, I need to rebrand. I want to sucker punch you in the face so fucking bad, you idiot. But again, I love chaos and destruction. There's something so sexy about this time that creates like new movements, new cultures, and I fucking love it. So we're going to see that really happening in 2026. I have this really sweet note where I said the revolution puts its feet on the ground. Things are getting firmed up. If I could tell you how I visually see like the collapsing of colonialism, it's like every year or every kind of time frame, it's like a new body part gets put together. 2026 is where we have the feet come, and then 2030 we're gonna have like the legs come, right? And it's like over time, it's like liberation actually is like a deity in itself and it's rebuilt, right? But what I'm saying is all of this really solidifies people doing the work. And what people don't understand, your day-to-day lives are the battlegrounds. How you live, how you spend, how you love. When you change all of that, that brings down the collapsing of colonialism. I have like this thought all the time where I'm like, imagine how many people have not fulfilled kind of like their karmic career or their life purpose because colonialism has trapped them or scared them into thinking it couldn't happen, it's silly, But yeah, that was my views on 2026 as a year of success and stupidity. Hope it gives you loads of hope. And likewise, if you're an asshole, I hope you're petrified and the ending is imminent. Yeah. Goodbye.